Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Computer America Show. It's Monday. Hopefully, all of you had a wonderful weekend, and we're going to be starting momentarily. We're going to be doing 2 hours of computer and technology news, and so we're because basically there's so much going on, and I think we may start doing this as a regular on Mondays because to cover all the news that kind of builds up over the week that we don't have time to get to. Anyway, sit back, relax as we bring to you 2 hours of the Computer America Show coming at you right here. And we'll be doing that in 15 seconds from now.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show about computers and technology. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And hopefully all of you had a wonderful weekend. And, it's been a trying week here on the globe. But, we weather through what we do and we press on. We've got 2 hours of a terrific show planned for you. I don't know if we're going to do it on a regular basis, but it seems to me that so much happens in the worlds of computers and technology that when Monday rolls around, we have a guest in the first hour, and by the time we get to the second hour, we have way too little time to talk about what's happening in the world of computers and technology. So it may just happen. We're just going to give it a try. Right now, we're going to do that. No guests today. We're going to do 2 hours of computer and technology news. That's brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America, and some just general talk about what's going on in the world. And we're going to do that for both hours. Now, if you have what we will do when we do this is we'll keep the phone lines open. If you have a comment, a question, a suggestion, something's not working on your computer, you need technical assistance, we're here for you. You can pick up the phone, give us a call at 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. You can also go to our website at ComputerAmerica.com. Now, the first thing we ask you to do is this: when you go there on any page at ComputerAmerica.com, there's a menu bar that appears, and it says a live stream. You'll see that. We invite you to click on that, and when you do, you'll be taken to our live video streaming page. Yes, we are a radio broadcast, but we also provide live video streaming of the show, video and audio, so you can actually listen to us as well as watch the show. You can see guests. You can see Ben. Ben actually has the technology to display websites, videos, movies, links, that type of thing, so it actually makes a more enriched experience for you, not only listening to the show but actually watching what's going on. And again, it's at the live stream selection. Now, right under that, when you hover over that, there's another selection called Submit a Question. That's our question submission page. If you don't want to go on the air, it's a great way for you to get a comment or a question in on the show. Just click that. It'll take you to a question submission page. You can type in whatever you like. When you hit the submit button, Ben and I will see what you've typed instantaneously. So it's just another way to get your comment or suggestion. But basically, the best, easiest way is call us 347-884-8881. Now, before we do the news, over the weekend, something happened with our website at Computer America. We're not sure what happened, but for one reason or another, we couldn't. I couldn't see the website. It just came up with a 2-line thing saying Computer America.
For anyone out there who may work on websites or know about the back end of websites, there's this thing called the cascading style sheet, and that essentially tells tells your computer how to stylize a website. So, the HTML5 code that has all the information, that has your links, that has your pages, that has everything like that. And then your cascading style sheet, puts everything where it belongs on the screen, puts it to the left, puts it to the right. And something happened with our WordPress that caused the cascading style sheet to break. And that caused, if you just went to Computer America over the weekend, you were thinking, oh, we'll catch up on what Ben and Craig are doing. You'll just get, Computer America and a line of text and then a blank page because there was no formatting. All the formatting had broke. So luckily, we were able to rectify all of that before today's show. So hopefully you're joining us on our old and unimproved website.
Well, we made 2 slight improvements, and the other thing is the link in the upper right-hand corner. I have to get that back up. I haven't figured out how to do that, but there is a way.
It's not an improvement. It's not an improvement.
Just getting it back to the way it was. All right, and also I've changed the show lounge to on the menu bar to say live stream. A lot of people didn't know what show lounge meant, so we changed it to live stream. So those are the 2 things. Now Ben, of course, and I has every intention of upgrading the website. We upgrade the website every couple of years.
It should be every year is the goal. I mean, over the past couple iterations between places like Wix and now WordPress, we're looking at about a yearly update, which I think a lot of websites should do. If you run your own website, you should always, things change. What people expect on a website changes year to year, and styles just change in general. I mean, going way back to the mid 2000s, somewhere in the mid to late 2000s. Everything went from vertical navigation menus, to the left, and you had all your options on the left. And somewhere in the late 2000s, everyone changed to the vertical, or not the vertical, the horizontal menu, like we have on Computer America, where they want everything across the top and drop down from the top menu. So if you sit there and you say, I have a perfectly functional website, I just paid to have it done, and a couple years ago, it still works, it's great. Even though it still works, what other websites are doing affects your website, because what other people are using on a daily basis means that's kind of what they expect on your website. They want some kind of uniformity, and styling matters.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
You can't just sit on the same website for years and years and years, because even if it works perfectly for you, nothing breaks, it's all functional. If it gets too different than most of the other major websites out there that people use, then it's going to be so disjointed that they're not going to enjoy using it.
Yeah, that is very.
Know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So you're saying the goal for us is to just update our website every single week?
The goal for us is, as sad and as high schoolish as it sounds, we need to keep up with the Joneses, and we need to try to make ourselves more like other websites out there that people may visit. Take inspiration from some of the more popular sites, and try to adapt that to what we do here. Obviously, we're a radio show, and that has certain I'll admit, I know that a lot of people who listen to the radio rarely, if ever, visit their favorite radio station or their favorite radio show website, but we encourage that you do. But there's still things that we can do better, and we can do like other people that will help us.
This is very true. This is very true. Well, and we will continue to see if we can make that happen. But I'm sure we will. Okay. As we
the last thing I have to say about the fixing the Computer America website, I will say that the Wayback Machine done by the Internet Archive, which I think if I was reading their headline right, they had 328 billion websites or web pages archived.
Yeah.
They have some insane amounts of web pages archived for future reference. And that's actually what helped us here on Computer America, because when it breaks, you have to put everything back the way it was, or else people are going to say, wow, nothing's like it was, and everything is worse than it was. So instead, I went back to the Wayback Machine, and I was able to find all of the Computer America site, and I could kind of say, this is what we have, and this is what it used to look like. Let's make what we have more like what we used to have. It was a very good reference to have. And the Internet Archive, I never really thought of using it that way until I had to use it that way.
Yeah, sometimes it just things like that happen. You never think that to use it until you need it, and then you're really happy that it's there.
Definitely. And then one other last thing is that I learned about a new system of colors for web design. So
You're talking web certified colors you're talking about?
yeah, well, there's CMYK, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Is one of them.
Yellow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then there's CMYK. There's hexadecimal, which is the not the hashtag, but the pound sign. FFFFF is like white, and then pound sign 00000 is like black. You could mix up the hexadecimal and you get different colors. That's another way of categorizing colors. And then the third way that we actually had to use for one of ours is called RGBA. And Craig, I don't know if you've ever heard of that one.
RGB, red, green, blue.
RGBA.
Yeah, and have not heard of RGBA.
Right. Well, RGBA is it's something that I had to use for one of the elements on the Computer America website, and where CMYK is like browser approved, system approved colors that will show up on any monitor. You have like the hexadecimal system, which has infinite number of colors and is very, very very easy to read. But then the RGBA also lets you, as opposed to the other two, also lets you set transparency. So you can set like RGBA and like 255, 255, 255, 0.8, and that 0.8 at the very end means that you have an 80% transparency on whatever color you have. Just that value, as opposed to the other two, lets you add a level of transparency.
So what did you use it for? The background?
Yeah, the background, so you could see the logo through that lighter area on our website. That is that's like 238 whatever blah 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 0.8. So that means it's 80% transparent.
Very cool. Very cool.
So yeah, that's what I learned. There's multiple forms of color that most browsers can read. It's not just CMYK and it's not just hexadecimal. It's yeah.
I wonder if that's part of the HTML5 specification.
Well, yeah, and of course, each one does its own thing. Each one does something better. So it's good stylizing. If you're a web designer, you're gonna want to know what each one does and which one to use in which cases, because it just makes other people who have to come in after you makes their lives easier. If you put in the proper color in the proper format.
All right. Well, I guess what we're going to do is some computer and technology news. We got lots of stories to do. So let's begin, if you will. Today's computer and technology news is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. Check them out at slimwareutilities.com. You'll be very glad that you did, and you'll thank us for it. slimwareutilities.com.
All right. So I think we are going to start off with this story from The Verge. And yeah, it's a very positive story for Nintendo. A company that a lot of people really enjoy. They have a lot of fun memories of playing Mario. They have a lot of fun stories of of playing Pokemon, of Zelda, of all their IPs. They have so many great ones. And lately in the news, Nintendo's been getting a bad rap for their consoles are genuinely considered crap. They haven't really put out a truly successful game in quite a few years. They think that Nintendo is getting long in the tooth without showing that they're really innovating. Well, that's all changed ever since this app came out called Pokemon Go. And we've talked about it here on the show. I actually found out a little bit more about it. Craig, I don't know if you've ever heard of an app called Ingress.
Yes, actually I have.
Right. So, well, what do you know about it?
As again, I've heard of it, but I'm
right. Well, Ingress was a game developed by Niantic, and
That's
who, yeah, it's developed by Niantic. Who, if you start up the Pokemon Go app, that's the first company that pops up before Nintendo and Pokemon is Niantic, and they made it an app called Ingress, and that one had people go around their town using geotagging and that kind of thing, and set up landmarks all around their place. And of course they would get approved if they were actually landmarks, and they got they got points, they got achievements for walking a certain distance, for biking a certain distance, of taking pictures of landmarks that others had set up, of going to certain locations that other had specified. Something special was at this location. It was essentially a way to get people out and about exploring their town. You just pop open the app and you can see what's interesting in your town. So the app was actually pretty popular, but it wasn't it wasn't anything too spectacular. It was just something cool to do. If you're looking for something to do around town, open up Ingress and you get achievements for going out and exploring your town. Well, Pokemon Go essentially took all the data that Ingress had accumulated over the time that the app was active, and they slapped Pokemon on it. So you can go out, you can catch Pokemon, you can walk around, you get these little creatures that will tell you that which one's near, and then you go find them. Sometimes they're even in people's backyards. Sometimes they're in the middle of the road. Wherever they may be, you find them, you capture them, and you go on about your day. It's very simple, rewarding kind of thing. And all of the in all the gyms and all the Pokestops, all the places that you can do things in the game, essentially took all the landmarks that Niantic had collected from Ingress and just turned them into Pokemon related things. And you get items and more powerful Pokemon and stuff like that at these locations. But Pokemon Go feels like such a polished and finished game because it's piggybacking on all the data and all the work that the previous app had done for it. So that was that is one huge reason why Pokemon Go is so successful. And as a result of all this success, even though Niantic was owned by Google, they were sold off by Google, but they still keep very close ties. Like Google is like their main investor in Niantic. Even though Niantic isn't owned by Nintendo at all, but Nintendo has a commanding share of the app. According to The Verge, Pokemon Go's success has added $7.5 billion to Nintendo's stock market value.
Sure.
And again, that is really without releasing a true game on their own. Again, Nintendo kind of gave Niantic the rights to use the IP Pokemon. And, this isn't something done exclusively with Nintendo, but it's been such a hit. And people have been absolutely insane about this. I mean, there's another story that we don't have today, but I just read it, I think, yesterday, where on Android phones, which are a huge majority of the smartphone market, more people have used Pokemon Go in the past week than Twitter. Like Twitter fell from the most used app to Pokemon Go. If that gets you any kind of indication about how popular this is, where Twitter is supposed to be so ubiquitous, and this app that's been out for a week and really has been marred by so many bad servers and things like that, a lot of technical issues. And really, it's an app designed to go out and get you to explore and exercise and go outside. And yeah, it's more popular than something that it kind of limits you to 140 characters. It's just insane. So, again, going from The Verge and Mr. James Vincent. So, of course, it continues to skyrocket following the release of Pokemon Go after an increase of 10% last week. 10% of the entire company's stock increases. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
So, it's highest one-day surge since 1983, which might have been like the release of like Mario. It's it's huge. So, of course, the game has topped app download charts in the US, Australia, and New Zealand, and according to some market researchers, has already been installed on 5% of all Android smartphones in America. So go up to 1 out of every 20 people you know, and someone is going to have Pokemon Go. Probably. So, of course, that's a pretty substantial win for Nintendo, but it's worth remembering that the game is not solely made and overseen by the Japanese game company. The app was created by Niantic, as I said before, which was spun off in Google in late 2015. And of course, it was built in collaboration with the Pokemon Company. So, Nintendo is an investor in both Niantic and the Pokemon Company, obviously, which receives about 30% of Pokemon Go's revenue. So, but the app is free to download, but with Nintendo's revenue generated by in-game microtransactions. And those microtransactions, while not, while not mandatory, are very attractive, which I think is, something it did right. It's not just pay to win. Like, you still have to go out there and move and, walk down the street and find your Pokemon. But if you want to get that done faster, you can spend money, and I think this is going to be a great revenue increase for Nintendo. And they even have a screen grab of the stock market, here where it shows, over the course of 2016. And Craig.
Yes. Yes.
Do you see where in this graph, in this chart, where Pokemon Go was released?
According to this, it says it starts off in January of 2016 because they've been keeping track.
Well, no, that's no. This is the entire 2016. This is from January to June.
Oh,
but look at the graph. Can you see where Pokemon Go?
The spike is at the end of June, where it just goes straight up through the roof. Yeah, exactly.
Right, and that very end is today. So
wow,
they're spiking, and they're spiking hard, which is great.
Yeah, it is.
So the article goes a little more into into how much revenue. But I think going forward, it's talking about how Pokemon Go certainly has potential. It's part of one of the best known and best loved game franchises in the world, and its current popularity comes from the release in only 3 markets. Again, in Canada, still cannot get it. In the UK, cannot get it because it's paused because the servers were struggling because it was so popular. In a lot of Asian countries, again, it's only been released in like Australia, the US, and New Zealand. In a lot of Asian countries where Pokemon is even more popular, cannot get it. This game has only hit 3 big markets, and it's already, absolutely massive. So, they're saying that the only thing that could possibly slow this down is Niantic. And Niantic, of course, being the developer, it's so popular that they're concerned that Niantic can't scale their infrastructure to handle all the new people. So if anything is going to kill Pokemon, if anything is going to kill Pokemon Go, they have a lot of ideas about what they can do in the future and what they can change and what they can add to make it even more popular with the current users. But if anything's going to kill it, it's the fact that every time you try to use it, you pull up the app and it says, we're currently experiencing difficulties. Please try again later. People don't really enjoy having an app and possibly spending money on it and then not having access to it, 10 hours out of a 24-hour day.
Yeah.
So, this is obviously something that we received an email from Josh Boykin, for tomorrow. If anyone is a fan of our Gamer Tuesday show, I really didn't get a chance to look at it, but I can almost guarantee you that Pokemon Go is going to be a huge topic that we talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't end there. There's more distress over Pokemon Go. Basically, it turns out that it's a no-go, if you will, on certain Android phones. It won't actually. Pokemon Go will not work on Atom phones that are based on the Intel Atom processor, nor will it work on Windows phones.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's because it's only available in the iOS and Android marketplace.
Right. Well, it doesn't work with Android mobile devices with the Intel Atom chips in it. Okay. So again, according to story again, because Intel is moving away from smartphones and tablets, and users with Android devices that are starting to feel that, because certain Android devices with Intel Atom processors, the app won't run. Now, there was a petition to make Pokemon Go compatible with the Atom chips. It got, as of today, it got close to 22,000 people signing this petition.
It's quite a few people.
Yeah, it is, and it isn't working on devices like ASUS's ZenFone 2, which runs on the Atom CPU. Now, Niantic Labs didn't respond to questions about whether they would release an Atom-compatible version of the game, and also it won't work on Windows phones. And again, that's due to Niantic's decision not to support that particular OS at the moment. Okay, doesn't mean they won't, but evidently with Windows phones fading into the ether, I would think that it's less.
A lot of work went into this because I actually heard someone who said they were going to install it, but then they, just to tell you how involved this app is, someone said they're going to install it, and then they're like, oh, they asked to use my camera, and then they asked to use my GPS location, and then they asked to view my contacts, and they're like, oh, that's so much privacy that I'm violating. It's like, well, first of all, yeah, I mean, they are collecting a lot of data, but the big thing here is that you need the camera, because to see the Pokemon, you have to use your camera, and they kind of project themselves over, augmented reality style. They need your contacts because they're going to integrate your friends and your contacts in with your Pokemon Go game, and they need your and they need your GPS location, because the whole thing runs off of GPS. It tells you where the Pokemon are and how close you are, and yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. So, just going off of it needs all those components in a phone to even work. That's a lot of work you have to do if you're going to port it over to an entire different operating system, such as Windows smartphones. That's a lot of work, and when you're looking at 1 to 3% of the market share, that's not your highest priority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, again, the story goes on to say that that it's fairly evident that Pokemon Go does not run on Windows Phone, and evidently it looks like it may not be. However, continuing on, that basically there is consensus that Pokemon Go is basically, as they say, eating the world. And they say basically it's taking the world by storm. And this is, again, according to PC World, Ian Paul. He said that
why are we just cramming all the Pokemon Go stories we can?
Yeah, I think so, because there's some interesting points here. They say it's already, you mentioned Twitter, it's also bigger than Tinder. Okay, there's actually a chart to show that. That basically, as of this Friday, July the 8th, that was a Friday, right? Mm-hmm. Pokemon Go players on Android were playing an average of 43 minutes and 23 seconds per day. And this is according to SimilarWeb. That's almost the average amount of time people spend on Facebook every day. There's some charts here to show that. And again, remember that graph, as you pointed out, that on the launch of Pokemon Go, the users, that chart just exploded. This is on apkmirror.com. They're showing that the use of the game is just going off the charts.
Well, again, Tinder is pretty steady. That's sitting just above 2%. Whereas Pokemon Go, of course, Tinder being out for a couple of years, it found its user base, and the user base isn't really going to change day to day. Mm-hmm. But Pokemon Go just launched, 3 days ago or 4 days ago, and yeah, I mean, it took off to after day 2, it was already more popular than Tinder. I mean, this thing, it really goes to show how popular Pokemon can be.
Yeah, except there are some, as with anything, there's always a dark side. The app is also having some odd side effects. They actually reported that some particularly savvy criminals were luring unsuspecting gamers to remote locations in order to rob them, right? Which, if you think about it, I mean, they could do that, online.
Not really.
Well, yeah, they could say, there's a Pokemon over here, come on over to this location.
Again, that's not really possible. I've never even heard of one story. I've got to check this guy's sources, but it's run by Niantic.
Mhm.
It's they can't create Pokemon, they can't create Pokestops, stuff like that. It all has to be approved. Like they could probably find a remote location that Niantic had already set up, and then as soon as people try to go there, and then they steal that.
No, no,
you
that's how they do. They're not doing it that way. They're using. They're downloading. They're tricking people to downloading fake versions of the game, and that fake version is loaded with malware. Something that will allow them to direct them to go, even though it's not the actual program, but it looks like the actual program.
See, but I can't blame that on Pokemon. They're not like they're tricking people into downloading the wrong app altogether. That's not Pokemon Go's fault.
Yeah. Well, I never said it was. I'm just saying that there are people out there doing this. They're kind of riding on the coattails of all this popularity. Hey, listen, we got a break, and then we'll continue on. We got a brand spanking new news tips poll review from Marty Winston coming up. You're listening to the Computer America Show. We'll be right back.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons: accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons: accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Hot? The lobsters leave the water already cooked. Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Triplite rack mount 16-port USB charger. Now, just because it's an equipment rack doesn't mean that you won't need lots of USB charging ports there, a fact that obviously didn't escape Triplite. They put 16 ports, all capable of tracking up to 2.4 amps, in a 1U high rack or desktop package. They can also, if you want, double as a USB 2 hub or sync station. One standard grounded AC connection powers it. You can even choose how to position its rack ears so it can have its face flush front or set back a little more than an inch, a little more than 2 inches. We love it as a convenience for powering 16 of our Project House's Raspberry Pi controllers. Bottom line, the Triplite 16-port USB charger fills a big lack in many a rack. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 33 minutes past the hour as we are just getting started here doing computer and technology news brought to you by Slumber Utilities. And yeah, it's a Pokemon Go heavy segment as we start off where, Craig just finished up the 5 facts that prove Pokemon Go is eating the world. And, of course, from PC World. And yeah, just finishing up with the dark side, saying that false apps are, of course, tricking people into getting robbed because, again, the whole point of Pokemon Go is to get out of your house and go explore. And, that can lead to quite a number of, dangerous things. But hey, it's the world. It's a safe place. Don't worry about it. Go have fun. I actually saw a tweet the other day that someone said, it's raining outside. No, it's raining, so I can't go outside and play video games. You know, it's having that kind of effect on people.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I think the last Pokemon Go story I kind of want to talk about was this happened a couple days ago. It went viral when it happened, just like most things that about Pokemon Go right now. But a little girl, I think this was last Friday, a girl went out to a creek to go, to go catch Pokemon.
Yeah.
And she found a dead body.
Not what she was looking for.
Not what she was looking for by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, she had, she called the police. They found the body, and they took it away. But yeah, like it just goes to show you that there are tons and tons of people, and there are more every day. There's like 7.3 billion people on Earth right now, and I think some of it has been due to the fact that a lot of people are staying indoors more and more. Like we drive everywhere, we go to work, we go to the gym, we go home. Like we really don't get out and walk around the neighborhood and explore a lot. But the moment you start getting people out into the world again, you start finding some weird stuff. So, but yeah, so that's Pokemon Go. It's essentially a reskin of a game called Ingress. If you have ever played that, it's very, very popular. It looks only to get more and more popular. Of course, the only thing being, is it available in your market? And is it available because the servers could be overloaded? So,
and we'll be talking more about this with Josh Boykin tomorrow.
I bet you Josh Boykin is insane about this game. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. So
that's saying, hey, listen, I have to go outside and play video games.
Right. And I like it too, but we'll get into it tomorrow. I have my qualms about it, but it is what it is. So, all right, Pokemon Go, huge success from Nintendo, gained like $8 billion ever since its release. It's good time to have a heavily invested stock in Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. So,
okay, moving along, let us move on to let's go from video game to video game, and this is about a company called G2A, and G2A it's quite popular with the younger crowd because it's a good way to buy video games. It's essentially it's a games to auction or whatever it is. Like essentially, you're paying, like people get codes for video games, and you can then sell those codes to directly to consumers or to other people that through the site. And it seems like a good way for people to get games a little bit cheaper. Like when games first come out, some people may get a ton of codes and they'll put up a bunch of games for like $54 instead of $60. Mm-hmm. Or if they get a bunch of codes and it's an older game, mm-hmm. you can turn those codes from completely useless to you because they're older games. Who wants them? You can throw them up on G2A for like $3 or $4 and hopefully make a little bit of that money back. And developers could actually put games up on there as well. Well, there is a report now that G2A is working on a solution to a big problem it had, which was people were selling shady game codes for much, much cheaper than the developer could, and they were cutting the developer completely out of the equation.
Were the codes good though, or they were?
The codes were good. The codes were good, but how they were acquired, they could have hacked somewhere and found 10,000 keys sitting on a database somewhere, mm-hmm. and they take those 10,000 keys, sell them for $10 instead of a $60 game, and then G2A would make their money, so they don't care. The thief would have a legal way of unloading these keys, and he'd be happy. He'd get his money, and then the developer would be left high and dry. Even if you report it. So let's get into this article. This is from Mr. John Fingus, and G2A makes it harder for scammers to sell shady game codes. Sell shady game codes. So G2A is still determined to show that it can do right by developers worried about shady game key sellers. So the online marketplace has introduced a new verification process that should make it harder to commit fraud. So new sellers will have to provide a legitimate phone number and social networking account to get their foot in the door, and they'll be limited to selling 10 products before they have to deliver more proof. So this is just a start, as G2A adds as further measures are planned that will check addresses, credit cards, and PayPal accounts. So the new screening measures might go a long way towards preventing some of the tactics that have hurt developers in the past, such as fraudsters who buy game keys using stolen credit cards and resell them at cut rate prices. So, however, it raises a big question: why aren't anti-fraud measures in place before? The digital good MIG. And of course, it's no secret that the online marketplace was rife with abuse, and digital goods make it that much easier to cheat both companies and customers. And yeah, that was another problem that they were running into, was that people were buying game codes with stolen credit cards, stolen PayPal accounts, stolen, wherever you get your money. They were buying these things, and then they were turning around selling them and having that money directed back into another account. So, you would steal someone else's money, and of course, the person whose credit card was stolen, they could dispute it. They get their money back from the developer who they just bought the game code from, and then the person who had their credit card stolen completely off scot-free, because they could prove that it was stolen. But then the game developer, what are they going to do? Like, can you take back a game code that was purchased completely legally, through illegal means? So either they're out $60 and they let the person have the game code for free, or they revoke the game key that was purchased illegally, and then the person who bought it
is out the money
through G2A, and they feel they bought it completely legitimately, then they're out of a game and money.
Yeah.
So,
there's no really winning solution, is there?
There isn't. And G2A, again, was very popular with the strategy, and it's good that they're stepping up the prevention to make this happen. But there's been a lot of fraud going on with G2A, and they haven't cared for a long time. So better late than never, but it was kind of the place to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
it's like that one truck stop that had a lot of weird things going on, and they finally decide, okay, we're going to put up a security guard and a couple cameras. We're going to start cleaning up our act. And do you say, well, you were still a seedy truck stop for a while there? I mean, yeah, better late than never, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, again, we're continuing to do these stories, computer and technology news, and gosh, there's so many, Ben, I don't even know which one to, there's so many good ones here.
They're all good. Every time I pick these out, they're all good. What are you talking about?
I know. Well, now, Apple reported that they were going to make available a beta of the upcoming iOS 10. And but I know if you're chomping at the bit, if you're using your iPhone and you elect to download iOS 10 beta, you better be forewarned, because there's a problem. And Engadget is recommending, John Finks is recommending that you may want to hold off trying the iOS 10 beta if you can't bear to be without two-factor sign-ins. Okay. Evidently, there's a small number of users of the iOS 10 beta that are reporting a two-part problem that has literally locked them out of their Apple IDs. The first part is a bug with app-specific passwords that can force a password reset, regardless of the iOS version you use. It's not the worst issue if you're using a stable version of iOS, since it takes mere moments to get a new password, right? But things may go haywire if you're a user of an iOS beta version with two-factor authentication turned on. Users say that Apple's I forgot password system doesn't work for those experimenters, literally shutting them out of their accounts the moment the app-specific password glitch creeps up. That can be pretty nasty. Those affected by the problem say that engineers are aware of what's going on, so you might be in the clear by the time you hear this story.
And oddly enough, there is an update with the fix. So
evidently, some users have reported that you can use a link in your two-factor authentication email notice to disable the security measure and thus recover your account. You'll still have to wait until the underlying issues are resolved to turn two-factor back on, but basically it beats a total lockout. So there you go. Okay. So again, but remember, when you use beta software, people, okay, I mean, this is the risk that you run. That's why they're calling it beta. It is software that is not finished. It is software that is incomplete, that it has most of the features, but there are problems with it. That's why they're calling it beta. It's not an official release. So, you know, it's best to use beta on, let's say, backup. Like if you have a backup Mac or a backup computer, you have a backup iPhone or whatever you have, and use it on the backup. Don't use it on your main device, because problems not only can, but more than likely will occur. So you shouldn't use this on your primary. You shouldn't use beta software on your primary computing device or whatever it is that you're using.
stuff like this always happens with beta, and I feel like you can only get burned by it only so many times before you say, all right, that was a bad idea to use to use beta software for possibly your only means of communication, for possibly a device that you use for work or something important. Beta is weird because you change things, things that are almost completely unrelated, especially in things like operating systems and smartphones, things that seem completely unrelated, and all of a sudden you don't have cell service, all of a sudden you don't have the internet. Weird things happen, and they take no responsibility while it's in beta.
Yeah. Wow. Well, again, just go in with both eyes open, and know what it is what you're getting into when you start using beta software. And again, my recommendation is use it on a device or computer, that's secondary that you may have.
Absolutely. Well, iOS 10 phone
or a secondary phone. Exactly.
Secondary phone. And I don't know too many people who have a secondary phone, but
yeah, a lot of people do. The fellow was just here today, had two phones.
Why have two phones? Whatever.
Because his work, he's with Homeland Security, and they insist that they use the one phone for business, and yet he wants a personal phone.
And the other one's a BlackBerry. I assume. But all right. Well, how about something a little bit less lighthearted than simple bugs or Pokemon? Facebook is getting sued for $1 billion.
$1 billion.
And this is weird because Facebook is blamed for Palestinian attack in $1 billion lawsuit filed by the victims' families. So, families that lost loved ones from attacks committed by terrorist groups, Hamas, are changing their social network for playing an essential role in their ability to operate. And this is something that we're seeing with a lot of, with a lot of social media, is that wherever there are people, there are, obviously people who want to do bad. And, either they want to recruit through social media, either they want to spread their message through social media, either they want to, spread fear through social media. They want to use social media because that's where the people are in some way that negatively affects people. And I guess here, we're going to read the article from CNET, but yeah, they're suing Facebook for letting it continue under their charge, so they say. So, Facebook is, again, the target of a $1 billion lawsuit filed Sunday that alleges the social media giant is making it easy for a terrorist group to use their services to coordinate Palestinian attacks. So, 5 families, 4 of which are Americans living in Israel and 1 which live in South Carolina, are charging the company with providing material support and resources to the Hamas terrorist organization, which they say aided the extremist group to organize the actions that led to the deaths and attempted murder of family members of the plaintiffs. That's a serious charge there. So, quote, Facebook has played an essential role in Hamas's ability to carry out terrorist activities. It is not merely about content, it is about the sophisticated technology means that Facebook provides to Hamas to make its terroristic goals a reality. So, the lawsuit further delineates members of Hamas organization that are claimed to have their own Facebook accounts used for carrying out their organization's activities, and its use in attacks made against the victims of the plaintiffs' families. It also claims that the network has the ability to block the organization, but refuses to do so. And so they're saying that the algorithms are insufficient, and that if Facebook was actively to monitor its social media website, they could block Hamas's use of Facebook. So, Facebook has been taking a lot of heat how its services are used in Israel, and the country's public security minister recently called the network a quote-unquote monster during a television interview. So, of course, Facebook was not immediately available for comments. But Craig,
Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about a technology that is available to everyone being used for evil.
This goes back even further, but this is certainly a good example of that. And it on the surface would appear to be a philosophical conundrum. It's like when you're selling a screwdriver, and a screwdriver can be used for good, putting in screws in it, or it can be put it in the hands of a psychotic person, and it can be used as like an ice pick as a murder weapon. It's still a screwdriver. It's all depending on how it's
Why
used.
did you have to compare it to an ice pick? An ice pick is a completely legitimate tool. Like a screwdriver could be a murder weapon. Ice picks are not illegal. Don't besmirch ice picks.
Yes, but the point is, it could be used for bad, and it could be used for good, and depending upon whose hands it falls into. And a good person's hand is just it's a tool, in a maniac's hands, it's used as a murder weapon. So the point is, it's the same thing here with Facebook. I mean, it's the analogy I think holds fairly well. And that is, Facebook is a social media website that's used for the primarily for good and social interactions. But in the wrong hands, it can be used as a terrorist tool. And certainly has been proven to show. How does Facebook determine who can use its account or not? And should Facebook even be put into that position in the first place? I mean, it's like the manufacturers of screwdrivers. They say, now, okay, before you sell screwdrivers, you need to make sure that, it's only good.
You have to put some kind of anti-murder device in your screwdriver so that as soon as it touches human skin, it doesn't kill someone. It's like, it's not possible.
It is not possible. And I think Facebook is facing, excuse me, pun not intended, a similar conundrum. They have something that can be used for good and something that can be used for bad. And to have Facebook mediate who cannot use the tool for whatever reason, I think is putting Facebook almost into an impossible scenario. So on the surface, it will say, yeah,
like we've had this talk before with with the Onion router, with the Tor network, with what do you call them? Not proxies, the services that let you appear to be in a different place that we recommend for security.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this. But these services are, if there's criminal activity to be done.
There's some VPNs.
VPNs. If there's criminal activity to be done, criminals are going to use a VPN. Mm-hmm. And so that led to, some legislation that was possibly going to be put through that said, if you're using a VPN, then you're obviously trying to hide something, which obviously means you're a criminal. Mm-hmm. It's not the tool, and the technology is never, created specifically for evil. Even viruses have their roots in something not evil, but these tools, even viruses, Greg, but these tools are developed to, hide people's identity for security. They're just tools. And then, sometimes they work better for criminals than for a lot of different things. But it's not really on the company who produces this. I mean, Facebook, their job is to get people on their network. Their job is to get people to use their services.
It's their business model.
Right. It's not their job to monitor everything that goes on to Facebook. It's not their job to monitor, yeah, they're going to take it down. They're going to take down obvious, claims of terrorism. They're going to take down obvious videos that are propaganda. They're going to, do what they can. But to claim that Facebook is liable for $1 billion because your family member was killed by a person who was simply using Facebook, that takes a whole new level of guilt that Facebook, I just don't see how that can be, proven that Facebook was guilty of providing, that many resources specifically to terrorist organizations and not just to a blanket everyone.
And I don't think it's Facebook's responsibility to censor and do that. That has to be done by somebody else. I don't think it's their responsibility. Obviously, if there's somebody who's just blatantly doing something, if they're stalking someone, you can go to Facebook and say, hey, look, there's this person's
and
stalking.
Facebook will help you with that.
Exactly right. But to do it on this kind of a scale, I think either there's some other intervention.
And it's we've seen this with other things where, let's say the recent Paris attacks and the Paris bombings, they were concerned that they were being tracked on Facebook. They were concerned that law enforcement was using social media to track these people. And no matter how much surveillance that you legislate goes into these systems, no matter how much time and effort and energy goes into monitoring all these social media sites, if you make it impossible for them to use these things, they're just going to go pick up a $20 burner phone, which is absolutely accessible to everyone, and just use those instead. You know?
And then we'll have to legislate against burner phones. And says
they even tried to do that, and that's not. And they said that you had to present a photo ID to buy a burner phone, and that didn't pass through. Yeah. If you make it difficult for terrorists or what have you, or anyone to make it, if you're trying to make it impossible for them to use something, they're just going to use something else. The technology is there. The technology to coordinate GPS, the technology to communicate using cell phones, that kind of technology is never going to go away. So to make it impossible, to say that you need to make it impossible, that's not possible. I mean, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any sizable social media site also has that seedy element to it, that also has terrorist organizations that are going to use it as well. It is literally impossible to clean up every little site and every little page that is dedicated to do harm.
Yeah. So I think we're in agreement here. However, I can't think of a good use for a virus. I don't think, first of all, virus isn't the product.
There was a virus that was released. It was made by, I forget who, but anyways, it would go out, infect your computer in the same way that the previous virus was, and then it would force itself to download a security patch update, and then it would flag itself to be scanned by that security patch, catch the original virus and itself at the same time, and then those both would be deleted. It was a virus to combat a virus.
Sometimes you need a virus to make a virus to.
I'm just saying, you have all these tools, and if they're weapons or if they're used for ill, that's not on the.
But that
it's not on the tool creator; it's on the user.
That was a real exception. 99.9% of all.
Craig, I feel like you're hanging up on my term. You're hanging up on my terminology here.
Yes, exactly. Well, we can go back to the screwdriver analogy if you like. But
screwdriver, shovel, internet, darknet, whatever you want to do. It's they're just tools, folks.
Right, and then it's in the hands of the user that are using them. Exactly, and that's my angle.
So to go after the tool manufacturer, I mean, it's just like when gun tragedies happen here in America, and they say gun manufacturers are to blame. They've never won a case like that.
Yeah, exactly. Nor should they.
No.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Interesting story. Coming up, we're going to be doing some stories. YouTube is plotting an online TV service with ESPN, CBS, and ABC to launch next year. We're going to be talking about that as well. Guess what, folks? The Samsung Galaxy S7 isn't actually waterproof. We'll tell you, who's saying that. And we're also going to talk about the most common reason users cancel a streaming service. What do you think it is?
No idea.
All right, well, we'll talk about that and more. And
well, actually, I know because I have the article and I read it, but but you don't know.
Yeah, and you don't know. And I have to say, I'm looking at a picture of Mercedes. They've got an electric sedan, a Tesla fighting electric sedan that's going to be coming out in September. I'm looking at this Mercedes. This is gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I mean, this picture of this Mercedes-Benz is just absolutely stunning. And of course, you'll have to watch the live streaming video to see it. But these stories and more are coming up on the Computer America Show. We also have another brand spanking new News Tips Bullet Review from Marty Winston. We're going to be talking about the TP-Link AC 1200 extender. We're going to talk about that as well. He's going to talk about it. Just a momentary break as we begin hour 2 of the Computer America Show.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And we continue on. We're doing computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. Ben and I were doing both hours computer and technology news because we find that, over the week, we just don't get enough chance to do computer news. So we're going to continue on that. But we do leave our lines open, 347-884-8881, 347-884-8881. I'll get you on to get you through. Or head over to our website, computeramerica.com. And on the menu bar, the second item from the left, it says live stream. Just hover over it and then move down to submit a question. And you can submit your question to us there as well. Also in this hour, we have another brand new News Tips Bullet Review from Marty Winston. It's going to be all about something called the TP-Link AC 1200 extender. He's going to be talking about that. But we continue on doing the news stories. And then this next story from Engadget. I don't know if you're into Bitcoin mining, but guess what? It's just become less rewarding on purpose.
Yeah.
If you have computers and you're trying to make a living on chugging away as a Bitcoin mining, machine, some companies sell them dedicated Bitcoin mining machines. Well, don't be surprised if your output just fell through the floor. This again, according to Reuters and John Fingus. Reuters notes that code built into Bitcoin has cut the mining reward in half as of the 9th of July. Of course, this is the 11th. So this was as of Saturday, the 9th of July. Saturday, this went into effect. Where there were previously 25 Bitcoins, that's roughly $16,000 to be mined every 10 minutes. Now you have to fight over 12.5, rather 25.
So, yeah, 12.5 Bitcoins.
Yeah, exactly. The measure automatically kicks in every 4 years as part of an attempt to curb inflation that would come from both a growing number of miners and ever faster computers. Boy, they built a lot of future into this thing when whoever first developed it.
They intended that the Bitcoin would be around for, like, the code had plans for like the next 60 years, and then it could be added to, after that. So they really intended that Bitcoin would be a future currency, not just, an immediate quick payoff.
Well, to no one's surprise, reducing the reward could have serious consequences for dedicated miners. I mean, the people that spend a fortune on these mining machines in hopes of getting a profit, and now you basically just cut that in half.
Well, I mean, it's not a surprise. The code is open source. The code is available for everyone, and if you do enough research, you'll know that this was coming.
Yeah. Well, as you have to work twice as hard to get the same amount of money, companies with not so efficient operations may have no choice but to restructure or even close shop entirely. There's one called KNC Miner, for instance, declared bankruptcy in May after warning about the impending profit loss. Those miners most likely to survive are the ones that keep costs to a minimum through low-power computers and minimal staff. Now, you'd think that the industry would have anticipated that given that it would happen every 4 years like clockwork, but that's not necessarily the case. Although Bitcoin isn't quite as celebrated as it was a while back, it is far more mainstream than it was in 2012. There are many more people mining than there were 4 years ago, and not all of them realize that they'll have to factor in those reward cuts. The bigger question is whether or not the Bitcoin business will be better prepared when 2020 rolls around. Miners will either have to trim costs yet again or hope that they can make money from transaction fees. So there you go. Not as easy as you thought it was going to be.
But of course, if you are sitting on a pile of Bitcoins, this is obviously a good thing, because now the future, the future influx of Bitcoins is going to be lower. The faster computers aren't really going to make as big of a difference. And, it's not like the existing Bitcoins you have are going to go lower. The existing Bitcoins you have are just going to go higher because it's going to be harder to mine them. So, 12.5, again, that's just twice as inefficient as it was before. It's not going to kill, this built-in measure isn't designed to kill every Bitcoin mining operation in the world. This is a measure to cut inflation. So it's not going to end the Bitcoin craze. It's not going to end the currency as we know it. It's just designed to keep people from building these huge inefficient systems and driving the price of Bitcoin to unusable levels. So it's cool. I actually think it's kind of cool that that these Bitcoins are so well written that you can tell they really took a lot of inspiration of currencies of nations and said that inflation is a big problem.
Yeah.
You just can't print money all the time and expect the price of goods and services to stay the same. It's it just shows how smart Bitcoin was, how smart it was designed.
Yeah, I mean, it still kind of boggles the mind that somebody was so had such foresight when way back when Bitcoin first came around. I mean, how much time did they spend on developing this thing, and then anticipating things like this? I mean, it's
don't get me wrong, that they've had their ups and downs, but Bitcoin, that ever since they were first kind of became popular there in the late 2000s, they've they've had their highs where it went up to like $1,300 at one point. They've had their lows where it dropped back down to like $300, $200, or even $150. But hey, they're still around, and that's something new for digital currencies. It's the oldest out there.
Yeah, it's becoming like the granddaddy of a cyber currency, and evidently also the most stable.
Yeah, we hope, of course, we hope to see more of it, because Bitcoin here, very, very fascinating to us, and we've done a number of episodes with Bitcoin mining computer manufacturers. We've done shows with experts in economics who also look into Bitcoin. Have people who write books about Bitcoin mining, and very, very fascinating topic.
Yep, it is.
And how like the blockchain is being used for other applications. But we are going to move on to a hard drive, a solid state hard drive that I want, but unfortunately my hard drive budget has never been $1,500. So this may be a little bit out of my reach, but because my hard drive budget, don't get me wrong, it's sizable, but it's not $1,500 sizable. So this one is from Engadget yet again, and yeah, it's a 4 terabyte solid state drive built to replace your hard drive. Of course, as the article says, if you have tons of cash, then the new 850 Evo may have all the capacity and speed that you will need. So, of course, it's not hard to get a capacious solid-state drive if you're running a server farm, but everyday users have to be picky more often than not. Either you get a roomy but slow-spinning hard drive, or give up that capacity in the name of a speedy solid-state drive. That is, we've had this conversation on the show quite a few times, and the key benefit to a traditional hard drive is the capacity, whereas a solid-state drive, you get the speed and the performance.
Right.
Oh, okay then. You get the speed, you get the performance, you get the reliability, you get this laundry list of improvements, as opposed to a traditional hard drive. And again, something that Craig likes to point out, and I have no choice but to begrudgingly agree, is that in the future, 5, 10, 15 years in the future, for consumers' sake, there will only be solid-state drives. Hard drives are going by the wayside, but until the capacity issue can be solved, traditional hard drives will have a place in people's homes. So, here's one step closer to the inevitable future of a solid-state only society, where Samsung has introduced a 4 terabyte version of its 850 Evo. So, which in many cases could easily replace a reasonably large hard drive. I mean, Craig, how much hard drive space do you have in total?
Okay, I have 2, 4, 6, 8 terabytes.
Right, 8 terabytes. So two of these, Craig, and again, you're looking at a picture of this thing. These things are like 1.5 inch, probably.
Yeah,
they're very, very thin, like not wide, but thin.
Yeah.
2 of these could replace all the hard drives you're looking at right now.
Looks a lot like a smartphone, lying down. It's rectangular and very thin.
Yeah, very, very, very stylish. And so 4 terabytes, and of course the other key feature to traditional hard drives is, of course, 540 megabytes per second sequential read and 520 megabytes per second write speed. So 540, 520 read-write speed, respectively. Very, very fast compared to a traditional hard drive. So, of course, it beats having to resort to a second hard drive just to make sure you have enough space for your video game library. So, the only catch, again, to the laundry list of improvements of faster, more reliable, longer lasting, more power efficient, speedier, the laundry list of improvements, of course, comes with that price tag. It's going to be a whopping $1,500 in the US.
Oh.
I don't know if all that was necessary, but yes, $1,500, lady from the 1930s silent age of movies, and still was heard. Of course, the $700 2 terabyte model seems like a bargain, but if the 4 terabyte version is priced into the stratosphere, it's a good sign that solid-state drives are turning a quarter in terms of viability. Of course, it might not be long before high-capacity solid-state drives are inexpensive enough to make a major sacrifice to put one in your PC. And that's the thing. $1,500 today, $1,000 in 18 months, and 5 years down the road, you're looking at maybe $200, if that, for a 4 terabyte solid-state drive. Yeah. Or even sooner. There's a point where these things become affordable, and I don't know about you, Craig, but I could probably get by with even probably 2 terabytes, and that would have more than enough room for all my games, movies, music, pictures, all my stuff. That would be more than enough. So until they come out with something like, the technology world has decided to never compress another byte ever again. Like, until something stupid like that happens, eventually solid-state drives are going to have the capacity that people are going to say, well, I don't need 20 terabytes on a hard drive. Let's just go get a solid-state drive.
Well, yeah, and I agree. I think that eventually it's the price will come down. I think in those, as you mentioned, those in that next year or the year and a half, then obviously the 4 TB but will come down in price. But of course, then they'll have larger drives. Then you just have to ask yourself, well, basically, how big a drive do I really need? So
Right. And we did this was a couple months ago, but we did an analysis that showed that traditional hard drives, HDDs, if you ever see it written, HDDs, they are expected to, right now they're like they're 6 cents to the gigabyte, and they're doing this all in gigabyte. And I think currently the going rate of a solid state drive is something like 34 cents to a gigabyte.
Mhm.
So, obviously for the same capacity, you're paying 5-6 times as much, for a solid state drive as you would a hard drive, 5-6 times the cost.
Mhm.
But looking at it going into the future, that 6 cents for a hard drive isn't going to drop much. Like, it's going to go down to 5 and 6 cents over the coming years, and then it's going to plateau because you can only fit so many platters into a physical amount of space. You can only get them to spin so fast. You can't really get that price to go down much more. But solid state drives, they're expected to go from like 36, 34 cents all the way down to, they're expected to go all the way down to 25 cents, 18 cents, 10 cents. As soon as they hit like that 10 cents, and traditional hard drives are still 6, 5, 4 cents a gig, then it's a no-brainer. Yeah, sure, twice the cost, but when you're getting, umpteenth times the performance,
Yeah.
it only makes sense to get a solid state drive.
Yeah, and let's face it, so much of your computer's activity is the speed of it is dictated by how fast the hard drive responds. Because so many times the computer will know what it needs, and then you kind of have to sit there and wait while it gets it from your hard drive.
Don't get me wrong, RAM's getting better, and more things are being stored in RAM. But yeah, if you've ever sat next to a computer and you've double clicked a program, and then you hear that those platters starting to spin up, that's computer, that is your hard drive taking the time to go retrieve all the information you need, as opposed to a solid state drive where you don't hear anything, you just get it immediately.
Yeah, and a lot faster. I mean, your boot time from Windows, booting up Windows 10 from a hard drive compared to a Windows 10 boot up from a solid state drive.
See, maybe I've just always had slow solid state drives, and yes, that is a very important part when you are choosing which solid state drive to buy. Just because you see one solid state drive that is, let's say, 1 terabyte and costs $500, and then you see another solid state drive of 1 terabyte and it costs $120, it doesn't mean that $500 solid state drive is a ripoff. It just means that it might have a much, much faster read-write speed. So, I don't know if I've just had slower read-write speeds on my solid state drives, but they say, on a solid state drive, your operating system will boot up in like 4 seconds. For me, it's always been 15 to 25 seconds. Better than like the 2 minutes the traditional hard drive was. But
yeah, exactly.
But, 15 to 25 seconds, as opposed to people who are like, oh yeah, it's almost instant on. It's like 3 seconds. Like, I've never seen that before in my life.
But it's out there.
It's out there, but it must be only for those super, super fast read-write solid state drives.
Exactly. But it's getting there. I mean, that was Bill Gates' dream in the future, this to have a computer that would be basically boot up no boot time, bootload waiting time. It would just be on. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And probably before Bill Gates dies, and buried in his giant replica of the Great Pyramids of Giza that he's built out at his gold encrusted tomb, Bill Gates will probably live long enough to see the instant on computer.
Yeah, he's still working on the Windows logo, what it's going to look like on that too.
And he nailed it with Windows 10. Those window panes, amazing.
Okay, so anything more about the Samsung's drive?
Anything else? $1,500. Don't expect to go get one. They have a 2 terabyte model, $700. Very, very fast read-write speed. But again, we tell you these stories not to make you jealous. We tell you these stories because coming down the road in the near future, this is the kind of stuff that is going to be affordable
All
in
right.
the near future. Like just like when we tell you about the $25,000 Sony 4K ultra high definition smart television. And yes, we know $25,000, that's not affordable, but one day your television will have all that technology and it will be affordable.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So Ben and I are continuing the computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. And this next story, by the way, I was looking at the story and then the some of the side stories. I didn't realize. Did you know that Star Wars: The Force Awakens is coming to Netflix next month?
Craig, do you not listen, folks? I hope you all take a better stock of what we tell you here on the show, because you will know this stuff before Craig finds it for a second time.
Oh, but it's only coming to Canada.
Craig,
Yes.
do you not remember how Disney made a $700 million deal with Netflix
Yes, I do.
to be the exclusive first-run provider
Yes.
on streaming services?
Yes.
Star Wars is owned by Disney.
So then why is it coming to Netflix in Canada this month?
First Canada, then the US. It's different markets. You have to negotiate different things. But
Okay.
it's Disney-owned franchise that will be on Netflix.
Some people don't associate that Disney is Star Wars now. I guess.
That was the hugest deal. People were so concerned that Disney was going to ruin their precious Star Wars,
I know.
and I don't think they did.
Well, anyway, on the story that is relevant, and I kind of teased it, I said, do you know what the most common reason why users are canceling their streaming service? The most common reason users cancel the streaming service is, one word, advertisements. Ads. Okay? This again from Extremist. This is a recent survey data suggests that nearly 70% of streaming service subscribers never cancel their subscriptions. In other words, we're a pretty sticky bunch once we get signed up, and it's very unlikely we'll go through the trouble of canceling. Okay. In fact, as IBM's data suggests, okay, one of the most important reasons we'll cancel is because our credit card expires and we just never update the information in each service. Canceling a service like Netflix or Hulu actually does seem a lot more work than just letting the monthly bill keep paying itself without much thought. It's only, what, $8 a month usually, or $10 depending.
Mhm.
Netflix remains the least likely to get canceled of the major services, with Hulu and Amazon seeing a much larger number of total cancellations. 40% of consumers have stated that they have canceled either Hulu or Amazon, with only 30% having canceled a Netflix subscription. But the most interesting note was the reasoning behind why we cancel our subscriptions. One of the most common reasons people canceled was, of course, price. That was 25%. But even above that was advertisements. 27% said advertisements. This is probably why a service like Hulu suffers, the ad-supported version specifically, drawing in a much higher number of cancellations compared to Netflix. Shortly behind that, a decline in quantity or quality of content, 20% was the other one. While Netflix is still seeing a growth, okay, anecdotally, it does appear that with recent declines in total numbers of titles on Netflix, more and more people are starting to cancel. More towards the bottom, 17% was technical issues hindering a smooth viewing experience. Now they go on, they said they ran a survey last year, and 79% of consumers responded that they would rather pay more for Netflix than deal with advertisements. Not surprising to say that the least then, that streaming services without commercials see a lower churn on their subscriber base. There have been rumors about Netflix bringing ads to the service for a long time, but with this recent data, we're guessing Netflix won't be making the jump anytime soon. Hulu itself went as far as to create an ad-free option for a few bucks more a month, meaning all their next-day television streaming would be commercial-free. Amazon Video also doesn't have any advertising, but is the most expensive of the bunch, as it includes several other features like 2-day shipping, on almost all Amazon shopping. We're talking about the Prime service there. Although Amazon has announced that a standalone streaming app is coming soon, which is interesting. So there you go. That's it. The reason for canceling streaming services is advertisements, and it's not a surprise.
Yeah, it's very jarring when you go from primarily, myself. I really don't watch television anymore. And of course, yes, you miss out on the best snack foods, and of course, you miss out on the best upcoming movies. But you have to go hunting for those. But when you don't really consume ads on a daily basis, ad blocker on your browser, and you have, and you watch Netflix mainly, or other sources of content that don't have ads in them at all, then when you go back to watching live television, I'm not even talking about time shifted, because time shifted, yes, it's annoying that every 7 minutes you have to fast forward through 3 minutes of commercial. But when you watch live television where you can't even skip the ads, it makes you a little bit mad. It makes you angry,
Well, what happened to people in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s that couldn't do anything about it? Maybe they didn't know what it was like to watch.
Well, when the first people who watched television, ads weren't even a thing. Ads on television, when television first came out, didn't exist. You had, one channel or 3 channels, and all of them ran programming from noon to 8 p.m. and then they shut off the stations. But they didn't run ads at all. They had content wall to wall. And then someone realized, hey, everyone's sitting around watching television. Let's put an ad in there. And so it's not like ads have always been there forever. It's, television ads is an industry that was created, done very well in its heyday. But as you can see, consumers seem to very much enjoy not having ads. It's one of the leading reasons, again, to summarize this article, why people cancel their streaming services, is because even though they pay for streaming services, they still have ads to support themselves, and people are not keen on that.
Well, there you go. What do you think about this? Have you read anything more about the Amazon, their standalone streaming app?
Amazon, no, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Well, they've announced it, and
that's cool.
But it's kind of cool.
Right. But
all right.
Instead of that one, we're going to go to a different source of streaming. But if there was ever an adaptation done by the television industry, this could be claimed to be one of the best or one of the biggest. YouTube is plotting an online TV service with ESPN, CBS, and ABC to launch next year. So, and of course, there are some big, there are also some big name titles such as NBC, Fox, and Viacom. Viacom, one of my personal favorite, who own Adult Swim or Cartoon Network, and they also own Comedy Central. So, they're one of my favorite providers. But yeah, they're also in talks for a $35 per month streaming service, though many details are far from settled. And yeah, this is a huge adaptation where where the internet has exclusively been streaming services or watching things secondhand, but traditional television stations and channels and content providers, the only way that they get online is through these other services. Like they've never really done it themselves. So this is a huge shift where traditional television is trying to embrace the internet, and of course it's probably going to be a trend that is only going to get more popular. So and this article is from TechHive, and of course YouTube wants to be the next company that aims to build a full-blown television service delivered over the internet, which I think is a part of the problem that traditional providers have, is that if you want to, and don't get me wrong, a couple of them have built apps that let you watch, you log in online through a web portal and you put in your credentials, you verify yourself, and you can watch it on the go. But watching a full-blown, service on any computer, on any smartphone, on any internet-connected device, that's a huge barrier for why the younger generation has yet to embrace traditional television. It's because they want it on any screen at any time. So, of course, according to a website called The Information, the launch is planned for the next 6 to 9 months, with a tentative list of partners that includes ESPN, CBS, and ABC, with others to come. And those are some huge names. Even ESPN, because sports has been such a holdout for internet providers. So the price was rumored at $35 a month, which would be competitive with PlayStation Vue and Sling TV. So Google may leverage its massive vault of YouTube content by organizing videos by topic, such as home improvement or documentaries, as a way to account for areas where the service wouldn't have a more traditional channel.
Yeah.
So, we're going to pick this up on the other side, but Google and YouTube have a lot of plans for subscription-based services in the near future.
All right, we're going to pick up with that. Another news Bulletin review coming up, brand new. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Whoa, good thing. When he tried going back to school, they arrested him. Hi, I'm Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, TP-Link sent their model RE350K dual-band Wi-Fi range extender with AC1200 support, so it's fast. But even more impressively, this is a plug-in wall wart device that doesn't block the adjacent outlet. Hurrah! It uses an app-based setup that by default maintains the same passwords as your existing Wi-Fi, or you can change them. You can also provide the same network name or a new one. You put it at a point where your original Wi-Fi coverage begins to decay, and it carries everything for another hop away. Bottom line, the TP-Link AC1200 Wi-Fi range extender is a set and forget cure for weak Wi-Fi. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is our last segment of content. As we continue, it is. As we continue on here doing computer and technology news for both hours. Don't worry about it if you missed the first hour. There were a couple great stories, but Yep, we'll have our next guest, of course, will be Josh Boykin tomorrow during our Gamer Tuesday. Sandy Berger on Wednesday, and Thursday we have someone else on.
Yeah, Thursday.
That's not our Linux show, is it?
Yeah, no,
Is that
Thursday.
Mark Zuckerman?
Games. We're gonna have Games on GAEMS.
Games, that's it. Games. Yes, Games, who were previously on to talk about their monitors. I have yet to have a chance to try out. They sent over a couple of monitor holders, like their rail system and like another system that are designed to kind of get your monitors up, moving, and flexible around your desk. So we're going to talk about all those new systems that they have. And then Friday, of course, we're going to have that one company that I currently can't remember either. Tiffin.
Yes.
Tiffin. Oh, wait. Tiffin for their camera division?
Yeah, it's going to be that they're going to talk about these amazing glass filters that they have.
I met them out at CES. They had a really great display out there, and I hope the gentleman that I talked about there is going to be the one joining us because he was very, very knowledgeable about all the different cameras and stuff like that. But yeah, Tiffin will be joining us.
I believe the person that's going to be on that show for us is Andrew Tiffin.
I might have actually talked to him exactly out at CES. It's going to be nice to get to catch up with him and see how all that went. But but that's the whole week. Today was just a one-off because we have a lot of great news stories, and hey, why not? So continuing on with the story, we're just wrapping up this one about Google potentially in the works to be building their own. I guess I'll call it what it is, an internet television network.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're getting content from the likes of of CBS, ABC, NBC, Viacom, ESPN, if they're getting content from what is traditionally seen as traditional television, then yeah, it's a television network. It's just internet based. $35, as I said, was the negotiating price. Of course, this is all speculation, and of course, it's kind of hard to keep these huge talks under one hat. But yeah, this is of course, in response to the report suggested that some of the motivation for the plan is the pitiful performance. Again, this is the quote by the article here, not myself, but
Walter.
Yeah. Of YouTube Red, a $10 per month service that also includes Google Play Music. So it apparently hasn't taken off, and popularity of the original programming for the service is underwhelming. As with most rumors, there's sure to be more that leaks out before anything becomes official. So of course, they'll be able to update us as things continue. Mm-hmm. So of course, why this matters? It's of course, the author says that smart TV is the future of television, which I wholeheartedly agree. Being able to watch what you want to watch, when you want to watch, hopefully ad-free, and watch it on any screen, that is definitely the future of television. Not the traditional cable format of, we're putting on Mike and Molly at 8 p.m. You're going to be right in front of your television at 8 p.m. or else.
Oh, you have a DVR. You can DVR it.
Well, a DVR is a step towards smart television.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, it is. It's
being able to record and then play back whenever you want it. That is, kind of the baby step towards a smart TV.
Yeah, and it started all the way back when the Replay TV came out with that technology way back when.
Replay and TiVo, and back then it was only half an hour of pausing and rewinding and fast forwarding, and then they added a DVR and recording and blah blah blah. Again, DVR is a stepping stone to true smart television. Mm-hmm. So, of course, and Google, which has unrequited television ambitions, definitely wants a place on your main screen. So the drawback to cord cutting for many is the lack of live and network television options, which is true. I think that's one of the reasons Craig likes to keep it around, is that, yes, you can go to all the different news organizations' websites, but having someone sit there and tell you the news, that is a definite only live television kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, of course, saying that YouTube seems to have this in mind with its possible partners, so it may be worth a look when it comes to fruition. And when they say that, between NBC, CBS, and and ESPN, it seems like live sports is definitely a possibility. for really, one of the first times in a streaming network environment. So if this is true, and it sounds like negotiations can of course fall apart at any moment, but if this does come to fruition, as to borrow his word, if this does come to fruition for $35, it can only set itself apart. The price is pretty high compared to other streaming services, but it can set itself apart by the type of content, not just the content, because for rerun televisions and movies and things like that, you have lots and lots of options between Hulu and Netflix and what have you. But for live news, live sports in a streaming platform, you really don't have a lot of options.
Nope.
So, again, YouTube probably can make themselves stand out. Some of their other previous efforts have not been as successful as they had hoped, I'm sure. But yeah, let's hope. $35.
Okay. All right. It's interesting that we're sort of right in the middle of this, and how we're going to we'll be able to talk years from now about how this finally worked its way out, and the reasons of how it got there, and how TV
ever since the start of replay TV, and ever since the start of TiVo and things like that, it's just been one, admittedly, being in the thick of it, one very slow transition from having to watch live television. And did you see that? Did you tape it? No, you didn't. Wow, I'm not gonna be able to watch that until I find it on a rerun somewhere, or that marathon comes on. It's just been one giant slow transition. Like, no one's ever resisted and say, oh, I hate this new format where I can watch what I want to watch when I want to watch it. There is no resistance to it. Mm-hmm. It's just been a very slow transition.
Yeah, but it's coming.
It is. It is.
All right. Well, I kind of teased this story too, and again, you have to watch the live video to really see what we're talking about. But according to Engadget, Mercedes is going to show its Tesla fighting electric sedan in September. The concept will show how Mercedes approaches four-door electric vehicle luxury. And look at that.
One word, of course, we should say is that very much so, it just said concept.
Yes.
Concept cars rarely keep all the flashiness and all the extravagance of, through production, but it's a start,
Yeah.
It's a start.
Why can't we see more and more concept cars?
You go to any auto show and you'll see tons of concept. I actually saw a few out at CES when I was out there. Concept cars are so cool looking, but it's something about the production method just doesn't lend itself to all the handcraftedness of a concept car, or the technology that they actually put in it isn't as advanced as as the concept car made it out to seem. But concept cars just never look as concept cars never deliver on what is actually produced.
Yeah. Well, it's too bad, because this is a beauty. But according to the story, that it's no secret that Mercedes-Benz eventually wants to compete with Tesla, just not partner with it. And you won't have to wait much longer to see how that rivalry shakes out, according to the story. Now, you should see a concept version of Mercedes Tesla beating electric sedan in September, or shortly before the Paris Motor Show. Now, its exact specifications are a mystery, okay, but it should sit in the Model S price bracket and offer similar driving range when it launches, most likely in 2018. These were previously teases that it would be dangerously fast, in case there was any doubt that it would be a performance-minded ride. Okay. Now, Mercedes Ace in the Hole might not be anything design related, however. Rather, it could be production. They note that Tesla faces a challenge in making so many cars on time and within budget. But that shouldn't be a problem for an industry veteran like Mercedes. And while they're unsure whether the car is built to be a Tesla killer, they admit that Elon Musk and crew will probably have a good reason to worry about it.
Why does everything have to be killer? You know, whenever there's a new video game on the market that tries to occupy the same space as another popular game, they always claim something's going to be a killer. Like it's going to be a Call of Duty killer, it's going to be a World of Warcraft killer, and
you always hear
I guess it's a good way of building hype.
Yeah, you also it's going to be an iPhone killer. It's going to be that. You know, I mean,
oh, you know, it's a giant marketplace with a couple billion people buying, you know, products.
Yeah.
Why isn't there room for two things?
That's right. There is actually. Well, but in that sense, Tesla may be shifting focus to the more affordable Model 3 at just the right time. Although Mercedes technically has low-cost electric cars. Actually, we're talking about Daimler right now, like the Smart Forte 2 electric. They're not exactly mainstream vehicles. Tesla will be targeting an audience that Mercedes has largely left untapped. So it won't have to worry all that much if its higher end car sales take a hit. Okay, so there you go.
You know, and they say the higher end Tesla sales are going to take a hit, but there's a waiting list a mile long just to get the higher end Tesla models. You know, they never make enough to even come anywhere close to demand.
Yeah.
You know, that obviously doesn't mean that, let's say, demand for Tesla is going to go down if Mercedes, you know, develops a high end electric car to compete. But you know, Tesla, it's not like they have, you know, it's not like they even have 100 extra at the end of the year. They're always a few thousand high end Teslas short of meeting the demand.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they're shifting to the Model 3, and you know, Mercedes has always been a little bit on the higher end, you know, not exactly you know, mid to low range consumer vehicle. But if Tesla can fill that need, I think there's room enough for electric cars all over the market from a lot of different companies.
Yep.
It's, I think people really do like the idea that other than long car rides, and luckily Tesla superchargers are making that a possibility. In, you know, every single month they're increasing that more and more. But I think more and more people are looking forward to the day that they never have to buy another gallon of gas again. You know, when they can just drive by a gas station every day on their way to work and say, oh, look at that, gas prices, $5.83. Huh, wow, sucks for them. And they speed off down the road. That, I think that's much, much more appealing to people than, you know, anything else. So just more electric cars. There's definitely a demand. It's not just the demand for Tesla. It's not going to be just the demand for high-end Mercedes electric cars. It's a demand in general for good electric cars.
Yep, it
is how I feel about that. Yep. So, well, that's Craig's story, and let us move on to. All right, how about this one? Speaking of sports, one of the most boring sports in all the world, Major League Baseball, maybe just got a little bit more clear as to why it's boring. Because now, thanks to Intel, good friends over at Intel, they will be bringing 360-degree replays to Major League Baseball. Finally, you can see the outfielder pick his nose while the infielder misses the ball yet again. All at the same time, thanks to the new 3D camera shots during All-Star Week games. So, Intel is determined to make 360-degree replays a staple for the sporting world. The chip designer has announced that it's bringing 3D capture technology to MLB, Major League Baseball, games, starting with the All-Star Week events in San Diego's Petco Park between, you know, July 10th and July 12th. So, you know, we're not talking about next year at the World Series or sometime in the future. We're talking like today and yesterday and tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, you know, like now. So, its technology will string 28 cameras around the field to show plays from nearly any angle. In short, there shouldn't be any doubt whether or not that runner is safe. You'll almost always have a good view. And not just a good view, but a 3D 360-degree view. Very cool. So, of course, there's no mention about whether or not the replays will reach other stadiums, so don't expect it to see it in every game. However, the rollout shows that 3D replays aren't limited to certain sports It's just a matter of having cameras and the right technology. And again, oh, looks like they took down the video of an example, but if you've ever watched football in the past couple months, you'll know that like some of those replays, they are so sophisticated. I mean, just the last Super Bowl that they put on a couple months ago, they were able to, kind of hit, play, fast forward, rewind, and all that good stuff. But they're able to, almost kind of zoom in and get a different angle on it because of these 3D Sense, 3D cameras that they were using at the Super Bowl. These high-tech cameras are going to change sports because now you really don't have that. You really don't have that sense of, I guess, really where like you have that the ambiguity of the ref or umpire or whatever person of authority is lording over the game. Like you always have the human element of did he make the right call? Did he make the wrong call? Sports are going to be more and more, well, here's what happened from 42 different angles. And here we can zoom in and get inside, the pitcher's left nose hair as we see exactly what happened. Like there's not going to be that ambiguity of, did anyone make the right or wrong call? You're going to know exactly what happened. I don't know if that's good for sports or not. You okay, Greg?
I think that sports interaction used to be that sports was basically a passive, observer sport. I mean, you can cheer and yell, but basically that was it. But to be able to become more involved because you can see better, angles and better the plays of more detail. I really think that it's going to add.
Like to me, it's not about the viewer at all. This is about the integrity of the sport. Is that bad calls, good calls have been made throughout history, through sporting history, and it's made a big impact on the game. Going forward, you're only going to have the right call be made. You're only ever going to have, yes, he's safe or yes, he's out because you have a little camera on home plate and it measured to the atom how close his foot was to, the bag.
So when the umpire says you're out, and then people are going to contest it, and
then you have 50 other people reviewing the camera footage in real time, and they get a little buzzer 30 seconds later saying, "Oh, technically, 2 microns, he was actually safe." It's only sports is only going to get more analytical, more exact as these camera systems get put into place. Of course, we're taking it to the nth degree. No one's ever going to mention by the micron. Well, maybe in horse racing, you don't know about that. But it's only going to get more precise, and you're going to take that element that's been in sports since the beginning of sports, is that someone has to make a judgment call, and now you're going to have the most exact information that there is no judgment to be made. It is just the call.
Aren't they doing that? I know it's tennis matches. The court lines now are actually electronic, or they have cameras. So when the ball is, was it over the line or back in the line? You don't have to rely on the referee or to call out a play. Whether the ball was out or it's.
I never heard about that, but I can see how that technology would be very simple to implement.
Yeah, they're implementing it in many cases. I don't know if I saw it at Wimbledon, but I do know that a lot of games now in tennis are relying on that technology to make far more accurate calls on whether the ball is in or ball is out, that type of thing.
Right. It's just sports are going to be much more precise, and for if that's good or bad for competitive integrity, then
Well, we're seeing it more and more. We're seeing it with football. We see now that there's they'll stop the game and they'll take it, and the referees review it, or they look at the screens, or the judges to make sure that the call was correct, that a person was
right. But what happens to the day when you don't even need refs on the field anymore?
You're always gonna need refs on the field. I think
if camera systems get good enough in this 360 degree footage.
No, but sometimes a judgment, where they have it, unsportsmanlike, or they get hit, or they.
Again, you can have people sitting in a room monitoring the entire game through a series of cameras.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think it'll get to that. But I think you're always going to need referees to make certain judgment calls that necessarily.
The refs are going to be sitting in an air conditioned room, not in the middle of the play.
Yeah, well, they have refs that are doing that now, but I still think
you can have refs in one centralized location. Ship all the refs off to Jamaica.
Yeah,
and they can all sit in a tiki hut with a good internet service. And they can monitor every football, baseball, hockey, sports game ever from one big room in Tahiti.
Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They're going to have to be there. They're going to have to be on the field.
You say that, but
I do. I strongly
wait 30 years. We'll see. We'll see the outcome of sports in a more technical world.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that judgments can't be challenged by technology, but you're still going to have the ref right in the middle of the game watching. It's part of the game, and it always will be. Whether it be basketball, football, baseball, there are always going to be referees on the court, or on the field, or on the diamond. That's the way it's going to be. Okay.
I don't agree, but I don't think we have time to really get into why I don't agree.
Okay. I don't know if we have time to do another story here.
Sure we do.
There's so many good ones here. Okay, well, there was these commercials, where they're showing the Samsung Galaxy S7, is waterproof, and they have these guys.
That was a Lil Wayne.
Yeah, pouring
champagne.
Yeah, on the. Well, evidently, Consumer Reports, decided to put Samsung to the test, and basically its S7 Edge showed that it didn't stand up to not maybe water resistance, but not waterproof. Consumer Reports submerged two S7 actives in a water tank pressurized to 2.12 pounds per square inch, which is the same pressure they would experience at a depth of 5 feet. Samsung claims that all versions of the S7 meet the so-called IP68 standard for water resistance, which requires the ability to survive submersion in 5 feet of water for 30 minutes.
See, that's pretty good to me.
Yeah, well, it's certainly not, if you leave your phone out in the rain, it doesn't come anywhere near to that specification. But in this case, both test phones nearly drowned. The first phone's touchscreen died and showed green lines, while bubbles had infiltrated its camera. The second phone screen turned on and off every few seconds and had water in its camera lens and SIM card slot. Consumer Reports says that after drying out, the phones would turn on when plugged in, but the screens could not be read. Ironically, the active version of the S7 was the only one of the three to fail this test, with the standard S7 and S7 Edge versions actually living up to the Lil Wayne pouring champagne hype. Those phones have been widely praised as among the best released this year and are at the top of Consumer Reports' phone rankings.
So it failed, and yet it's still the highest in Consumer Reports.
Yeah. In its response to Consumer Reports, Samsung said it has very few customer complaints about the phone's water resistance and speculated that the magazine had gotten its hands on defective devices. Well, there's always that story. But that might not be comfort to the athletic outdoorsy types who are among the phone's target customers. The S7 Active offer exclusivity by AT&T includes an underwater camera mode and a special active key that provides quick access to both activity trackers and an emergency app for sending SOS messages. It also has a supersized battery and offers an optimal camouflage color scheme. Sporty types attracted to these features would probably rather not wait until they're in the great outdoors to find out if they got a leaky phone. So just be careful. If you're buying these phones, you want to make sure that they are what they claim to be. That's what they're saying. And I
think
you can pour champagne on them. I think that's
I think a lot of people are buying these things, and they're like, even though it says waterproof, I think a lot of people are treating them as water resistant.
Yeah.
So, you're not going to take it with you, and you're not going to go diving with it every single day of your life. You may take it in the shower with you once in a while, but you're not going to shower with it every single day of your life. They're using it like a normal smartphone, but they're doing it with the added benefit of, if I drop it in the toilet, if I, drop it in the sink when it's full of water, if I do something stupid with it, it's not going to break. Yeah. I think people are going to use these water-resistant, quote-unquote, proof phones for a while. They're just going to use them to make them more durable, not to actually bring them into water situations where they could break.
Yeah.
Because, they're still $600 to $800 phones. Why would you even risk that? They're still huge investments.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely. All right. Well, that about wraps up the show. Again, thank you all for listening. Tomorrow, we're going to have Josh Boykin, our editor-at-large from Pop Zara, is going to be here on the program. And, of course, it is our Gamer Tuesday show. And we're going to be talking about life after E3.
60 seconds.
Talk a bit about what E3 was, what came out of E3 in a whole, and the future of the show itself, too. And also, obviously, Pokemon Go. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. People are walking around outside. And, of course, Nintendo stocks are through the roof as the world catches Pokemon fever all over again. Well, I guess it was necessary. Anyway, thank you all so much for being with us here. And Ben and I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one, everyone.
Woohoo!
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, again, everybody, thanks for watching our live video stream. And Ben and I will see you tomorrow here with Josh Boykin. Take care. See you tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.